I built this entire model-driven app without touching my Power Apps Maker Studio, purely with AI. And you can see it's done an incredible job of managing my favorite songs. You can see if I click onto here with the generative page feature, I can view these in an interactive experience. I can refresh my data here in the top right-hand corner. I've got a genre distribution. I've got a collection over here of albums, songs, artists, and everything you kind of need to manage your favorite music. If I come into songs here, you can see it's resolved the viewer experience as well. I can come and filter things in the way that I want. And again, I didn't touch the Maker portal at all to achieve this. If I open up one of these records, you can see it's resolved the forms for me as well. And if I go into artists in this case and open this up, you can see it's created these subgrids for me, resolving to albums and also favorite songs. So I can see what kind of relates to this particular artist. If I come back into the solution, you can see it's firstly built the solution for me, which is called favorite songs. And if I open this up, it's gone and resolved many different components like the application itself, the security role even called music collector, the tables. So it's gone and built the album, artist and song tables for me with the necessary columns, and also the web resources and the generative page all accessible within the application. This is all done through the new Power Platform skill plugin called Model Apps, which used to just support building generative pages, but now supports the entire model-driven app end-to-end building experience. If I come into the Microsoft Power Platform skills repo within GitHub and come into the Model Apps plugin, you can see previously it did just support, and if I scroll down, you will see the gen page area. Now the app builder, which is the skill that we're going to be previewing and using today, you can see it builds us the entire application from tables, relationships, forms, views, charts, security roles, apps, and also the sitemap. Something to bear in mind again is this is currently in preview, so this just came out. This isn't ready for production right now, but it is still extremely powerful, and it gives us that full circle moment with the Power Platform skills to build entire Power Platform solutions with AI. If I scroll down here within the app builder, you can see it supports all of these different steps from selecting the environment to authoring the app specification, approving the plan, generating the pages, building, and also editing as well. So this doesn't just help you build model-driven apps end to end, but actually helps you edit existing model-driven apps that you might already have in use. So this is a super exciting time to be a Power Platform professional and implement these solutions, and I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So let's just get started with GitHub Copilot. So the first thing we're going to do is open up GitHub Copilot, and we're going to go into our settings to make sure that we've got this specific plugin installed. So we go into plugins in this case, and we're going to look for the Power Platform Skills plugin and make sure we've got Model Apps installed. Again, if you don't have Model Apps installed, I recommend coming to the GitHub repo of the Power Platform Skills area, coming into the Model Apps plugin and going through the Marketplace edition and also actually adding the skill by itself. I would also take a look at the prerequisites to make sure that you've got all of these installed, and if you don't, AI is always great at helping you connecting to these different systems and getting them installed. So with that being said, we have our model apps installed, and now what we're going to do is cross out of this and we're going to make a new folder to create the model-driven app. We're going to come into new, we're going to go to local folder or repo, and then we're just going to create a folder over here by going into new folder, and I'm just going to call this model apps YouTube. Then we're going to select the folder. And then once we're here, we can start initializing and building our model app from this session. So what I want to encourage you to do is select one of the better models to kind of get this initiated. So in this case, we're using GPT 5.6. You can use the Claude models as well, which are a bit more powerful. And if you're looking to save costs, then Auto is always a good choice as well. But in this case, we're happy with this. So what we're going to do is do a / and then app. And then this is called App Builder, right? And you can see this is currently in preview as we discussed, and it builds and edits a model-driven Power App. We're going to go ahead and click onto this. And then the first thing we want to do, as with all of these videos, is we want to make sure that we are connected to our environment. So we're going to say, please make sure we are in our YouTube development environment, and let's build a model-driven app to manage my favorite songs. Then we're going to go ahead and press enter, and it's going to go and validate that we are in the YouTube development environment. And then it's going to tell me how we can start building our model-driven app. Please bear in mind here in the bottom, I've got interactive on, and interactive basically allows us to have a step-by-step collaboration mode. If you want end-to-end execution without any interruption, then autopilot is what you want to configure here. We're going to click out, and you can see it's going to establish the app workspace and verify the YouTube development environment before starting the persona first design. You can see it's discovered that the pack profile is already YouTube development, so there's nothing we need to do there. and it's going and taking a look at the existing tables, apps, and solutions within our environment. What it's going to try and do is find any tables that it can reuse, so it doesn't actually build tables from scratch if there's already tables existing that it can reuse through this process. But in this environment, I currently don't have anything that allows us to follow this process. It's identified that we don't have any existing song, artist, album, or genre tables, and none of the 16 existing apps is a favorite songs app. So it's asking us some questions so it can kind of understand what it needs to do. So we want to create a new favorite songs app in this case, and then it's going to go ahead and initialize that process. So it's identified that it needs to build in a solution, and it's asking us what solution should contain the new application and its tables. So we're going to ask it to create a dedicated favorite song solution with the prefix new, which is what's recommended. So we're happy for this to go live. So you can see that it's building the application from a persona first approach. And in this case, it's identified music collector as the persona and trying to match things that a music collector would do using the app. So adding and maintaining favorite songs, organizing them by artist, etc. So let's say we're happy with this persona, so we're going to say yes, and it's going to go and style that app and the tables relating to the application around that persona. It's given us a data model derived from these particular jobs, one with song, artist, album, and relationships as well, all available to us. I do envision this because it's in preview, it's kind of giving us everything via text, but eventually I think there will be a HTML format or a page, which basically gives us the data structure so we can kind of visualize it rather than just seeing it by text. But because this is in preview, you can see it's just giving us the specific tables here. So let's say we approve this data model in this case, and now it's going to go and build those tables as we need. Now you can see once it's resolved that step, it's given us a summary of the classification, kind of what it wants to actually build, and the high level understanding that you need with these 3 bullet points. Then it gives us the whole app preview from the app at the top, then also the data model that follows that with the relationships and columns, the sitemap of the application, the views and any charts that are created, and the forms as well available. It gives us the subgrids available on the form as well, so you can see it does a really good job of actually visualizing the build before you go and accept it. It's also given a generative page design, the purpose as well, security roles that it's gone and resolved and created based on the personas, and allowed us the opportunity to approve this build. So obviously this is a demo, so there's not too much of a need to have a back and forth, but if there was anything that I wasn't happy about in this process, then I can go through and alter it and surgically change things as I want. But because we're just demoing this, I'm more than happy to approve this. What I'm going to do is type my own answer here and say, yes, please approve the complete app design. And then we're also going to say, can you also please add a good amount of test data? 10 rows per table is fine. So rather than just build the application, I want to see it working with the test data as well. So we're going to go ahead and press continue on that. And then once the app is developed, we're going to be able to see it within the processes it's used. It's now altered, saying it's going to add 10 rows per table. So we're going to go ahead and approve the revised design. You can see now it's going through the security level design, any sort of column level security areas as well, the scope, the access. So again, we're just going to click through these and approve all of these as it goes through. Now, after all of this, you can see it's given the build plan, and we're going through a lot of different approval stages here, and I feel like a lot of this data is kind of repeating itself, but again, we're going to say we're happy with this, and we're going to approve and build, and hopefully it goes to actually go and build the application now. What I'm going to do for the interest of this demo is I'm going to switch this mode to autopilot so it can go and build this autonomously rather than always asking me for approval. Because again, I just want to show you how this works end to end rather than showing you every single step where it's going to ask for where I need to chime in. This can be self-explanatory and you're going to see what you need when you have that build plan in front of you while using this. But you can see the steps over here. You can see now it's building the solution and also the data model that comes off that. And then from the data model, it's going to go ahead and build the model-driven app, the generative page most likely, and anything that comes off that like the forms and the views. It's ran into some errors, it's going to resolve itself, and then we're going to see what it builds for us at the end of this. So you can see now it's moved over to building the generative page, and something I want to show you is me actually going in to the Power Apps Maker portal so I can see these components being added to the solution bit by bit. So you can see I'm now on make.powerapps.com. I'm in my YouTube development environment where the development is ongoing, and I'm going to go into solutions here on the left-hand side. Now you can see I have my favorite song solution, and if I open this up and go onto objects here on the left-hand side, I can see the different components being added to the solution here. So it's built me 3 new tables, and it's resolving to build me the app as well as the generative page. What I should see if I keep refreshing this is the new components being added to this live, but something I wouldn't do is try and modify these tables while it's actually developing the solution within GitHub Copilot in this case. And that's just to make sure that nothing gets interrupted or broken during that process, because if you're going to build autonomously, then it's best to leave it to do that. It's pretty much finishing up. You can see it's building the generative page, and now it's likely going to move over to building the model-driven app. You can see it's now reported that it's built and opened the favorite songs model-driven app in the YouTube development environment. It did give me a preview tab within GitHub Copilot here, but I'm not bothered to sign in. So what I'm going to do is just open up my tab and see the work that it's done for us. So I'm going to do a Control-Shift and R for a hard refresh and see everything that's been contained within the solution. And then you can see straight away, we already have multiple different areas that weren't here before. Things like security roles that were added in our place, the application itself. We've got the sitemap and web resources, some elements of code here. And if we go ahead and open the model-driven app by going into apps, the ellipsis here, and then play, we can see that it's done a half-decent job of building our model-driven app. So we've got a custom page here, which I don't think it's used the native custom page functionality. It must be something a little bit different. Maybe this is the overview page, or apologies, not a custom page, but a generative page that we can kind of visualize everything in. The genre distribution, the collection of applications that we've got here. So Room for the Rain. So we can see that this app has leaned towards R&B and also electronic music, which is completely fine. Very interesting choice of areas here. But if we click these different songs, we can see a page popping up here with the details of that particular song as well. If we go over to songs here, I really like that it's resolved the icons too to make it a bit more friendly in terms of feeling. And if we click onto one of these records, you can see it's created those views for us, and it's also modified the forms in 2 columns. We've got the artist and the album relationships available. And if we click onto these, you can see it will take us to the table as it would a normal model-driven app. And then from here, the favorite songs from a particular album as well. I definitely have to say that it's done a really good job of putting this together in terms of deciding and understanding my use case, visualizing it back to me, and then actually going ahead and building it within the solution. Now, it does come with some quirks and you do have to be careful. For example, with the data model, you have to make sure that the prefixes are aligned to your solution. In this case, if we go back, you can see that it's used the default publisher over here. Therefore, the prefix is all new, when it should have used the Powercademy publisher here. Now, this is something that we identified during the chat and is something that can be geared towards what you actually need it to do. You just have to keep an eye out for it and make sure it's not going and building these without your oversight. But you can see very nicely something that may have taken me an entire day to build with the tables and the apps and getting the forms together and the views has actually taken me maybe a little bit less than half an hour to put all together. Something I've also noticed, which is a little bit strange, is there's no generative page added to the solution. And there's a really nice way that we can check if it's missing the dependency. And the way that we do this is we export the solution, then we just click next and we run this missing component area. And you can see over here, the generative page, or in this case, it calls it a UX agent project, is over here and it hasn't been added to the solution. So this is a quirk which I'm sure will be fixed as this becomes generally available and moves out of preview. But if you run into this problem, what you can do is you can add it to your solution. And this is a really good rule of thumb for any sort of dependency that you have that you think is missing from the solution in the first place. So that was the model-driven app skills accessible through the Power Platform skills, which is also accessible in GitHub Copilot and also Claude Code. If you're interested in installing this yourself, the link will be in the top of the description so you can go ahead and have a read. Again, please do bear in mind that this is still in preview, but just some initial thoughts on this. I mean, I think we've come full circle here in terms of having the capability available within Power Apps and the rest of the Power Platform ecosystem to build solutions with AI end to end. Now, I think model-driven apps was a bit of a missing piece of the puzzle because we could do it with code apps, we could do it with Canvas apps, we can now do it with Power Automate flows, and now we've kind of come full circle where we can build an entire Power Platform solution entirely with AI. I think this is seriously going to change the way that we develop and build Power Platform solutions altogether. So I do recommend getting onto this, learning it, understanding its pitfalls, and understanding how you can utilize it in your work day to day. If you're watching this video and thinking my team needs to learn this stuff, or we could use someone coming in and applying this type of technology within our business, then that's exactly what we do at Powercademy. We've recently changed our model to support the workshops, technical implementation, and also advisory experience, and you can find that at the top of the description as well if you scroll down. Book a call, let's have a chat, and let's see if we can help you. But without further ado, thank you very much for watching this video, and yeah, take it easy. Have fun with this tool. Bye-bye.